Today is Wednesday, the 18th of November, and our gospel reading for this morning is Luke's version of what we read in Matthew on Sunday. The gospel, the story of the servants and the talents. But this version is about a king and kingdoms. And as I was doing some research into this, I thought that what I'd like to focus on for today is the third servant, that poor servant who's the wicked servant that goes and buries the talent or doesn't do anything with it. And just ask ourselves what is going on there, and how are we to understand what has happened. So as I was researching this, I found a beautiful Lectio Divina on the internet, which was a reflection on this particular gospel, the story of Luke for today. And in there, what it highlights is that part of the problem was the servant's perception of the master. So it was the servant's understanding of who this God was, what we call in the Christian spiritual tradition, the image that this person had of God. And particularly in Luke's version, we see that the master says, out of your own mouth, you have condemned yourself. And so it became an encouragement for me to think about, what are our images of God? How do we understand this God? Do we see this God as a punishing God, an austere God, a God that reaps where he does not sow? What is our understanding of this God who gives us these gifts for the building up of the kingdom? And our reading is coupled with Revelations, and Revelations verse 11 in the King James Version says something very beautiful about an image of this God. We read Revelations 4, 1 to 11, and the King James Version says, "Thou art worthy, O Lord, to receive glory and honor and power, for thou hast created all things, and for thy pleasure they are and were created." And this juxtaposes the third servant's image of God with what John is writing here in the Revelation, that this God has created us and all of creation to give him pleasure. So it is a very different way of thinking about when we are to use our talents or what the gifts that God gives us. It gives God pleasure for us to flourish. It gives God pleasure when God sees us happy, when we are participating in the ministry, when we are giving of ourselves, when we are sharing, then the community flourishes. And so my encouragement for this week, as we journey into the end of our liturgical year, we come to Christ the King, the Feast of Christ the King on Sunday, is to just spend some time asking God to help you with what your image of that God is. And as you reflect on that, reflecting on the ways in which that makes you live in response to God's invitation and Jesus' claim on our lives. In the name of Christ. Amen.